Hello, I'm Katherine Corr.
And I'm Elizabeth Corr.
And together we wrote A Throne of Swans.
The Throne of Swans is very loosely based on the tale of Swan Lake. And together we created a fantasy kingdom of Solanum, where the flightless majority are ruled by an ability that can transform into birds.
Our protagonist, Katherine, hasn't been able to transform into a swan that represents her ancestral bloodline since she witnessed the brutal murder of her mother many years ago. When her father dies, she decides to travel to the Silver Citadel, which is ruled by her uncle the king, to try and find out who organised the murder of her mother.
While she's there, however, she discovers even more plots and deceptions which threaten not only the security of the kingdom, but her very life. Katherine and I started working on A Throne of Swans in 2018 at the suggestion of my niece, who is bally mad. We wanted to look at the characters who are the baddies of the story, mainly Adil and her father Rothbart, and see what their motivations were for wanting to do this massive power grab and rule the kingdom.
So as the book grew, we discovered what we were really writing about were themes about revenge and how destructive it can be to seek for revenge and sacrifice, and then this idea of growing into somebody that you really think you can't be, that you fear you can't be, but actually discovering that you can overcome the barriers and become that person after all.
Katherine and I are obviously sisters who write together. A Throne of Swans is our fourth novel. We've written 5 in total, and we're currently writing another duology. We grew up reading all the same things and loving all the same genres, which means that we write in a very similar style. We do have our particular strengths and weaknesses. However, I love to bring people back from the dead. I think Katherine's pretty keen most of the time on killing them, but together we meet in the middle.
So one of the other things that we really liked about this book, as well as working together obviously, was the world building. It was the first time we've created a complete fantasy world, and we loved that we could design everything about it, from the geography and the geology and the language and the laws and the religion and the social structure to the architecture and the food that they eat. We had a huge amount of fun with it. So fantasy is definitely the way we want to keep going. So we'd just like to say thank you very much for voting for us, and thank you very much for getting us onto this shortlist. And we're really, really excited to be part of the Sussex Amazing Book Awards for 2020.
Thank you guys, thank you so much.
You.
Hello, I'm Simon James Green, and I am the author of Alex in Wonderland. Now, you may know me also from some of my other books, including Noah Can't Even, Noah Could Never, Heartbreak Boys, and most recently, You're the Ones I Want. And if you've read any of my other stuff, you will know that I always write about really awkward teenagers. That's kind of my thing. And that's why I wrote Alex in Wonderland as well, because I love writing about awkward kids awkwardly messing up their awkward lives and then trying to piece it all back together again. I love writing about that. The other thing that really inspired me for Alex in Wonderland, though, actually, was writing something set in a seaside town, because I love seaside towns, and I particularly love those amusement arcades you get on the seafront. I love going in there thinking, I'm going to spend £1, and then maybe, okay, I'll spend £2, and then before you know it, it's £5, £10, maybe £20, maybe more, and all because you're putting your money into some machine and you want to win a giant stuffed octopus, which you could buy anyway for £3 off Amazon. But hey, you've spent £50 now and you've won it, so that's great. But I kind of love the kind of trickery of those places, the way they draw you in, the way they keep you inside, and the way you can totally lose track of time inside those amusement arcades really fascinated me. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to use that in Alex in Wonderland, because the whole story really is also about kind of trickery and nothing quite being what it seems on the surface. So that was really important too. And then thirdly, I will always be a fan of funny books and of comedy. I think it is so important to laugh. And goodness knows, after the last 18 months or so we've had, it's been really tough, hasn't it? And I think the one thing we all need to do more of right now is laugh. Because I think laughter reminds us that life should be enjoyable, life should be fun and joyous. And I think funny books and comedy and laughter remind us that is the case. So I will always be a massive fan of writing funny books. I'll always champion them. And that's another reason why I wanted to write a funny book in Alex in Wonderland. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Bex Hogan, and I'm the author of the Isles of Storm and Sorrow trilogy, book 1 of which is Viper, which I'm completely thrilled has been shortlisted for the ABA Awards. Viper was my debut novel, published in 2019, and I first had the idea for it from a very vivid dream I had one night. If you've read the book, you might remember Marianne's initiation scene. That's the dream that I had, and it's exactly in the book as I dreamt it. When I woke up the next morning, I just had to know who those people were, what had led them to that point, and more importantly, what was going to happen next. So I went away and started to find out the answers for myself. In creating the world, I drew a lot of inspiration from my childhood in Cornwall. I grew up near the sea, so it was always going to be part of the book. For the islands, I took huge inspiration from the Isles of Scilly, where we holidayed a lot as children. If you don't know, the Isles of Scilly are a cluster of islands off the coast of Cornwall. They're completely beautiful and all have a really unique individual sense of identity, which was something I wanted to bring and incorporate into my islands too. I wanted to create a world that felt familiar yet magical, a story that was full of action and adventure, somewhere that my reader could truly go to escape. Because for me, that is the very reason that I write and read fantasy.
Hello, I'm Holly Jackson, author of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and the sequel, which I almost just dropped, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and the third and final book in the series, As Good as Dead, which is coming very soon. I should probably know when. And these are all crime thriller books which follow the same character, Pip. And I would say the reason I got into writing crime thrillers was mostly because that's the kind of media that I enjoy the most, like TV shows that I like to watch, films, PlayStation games. And do you know what the best thing about being an author is that I can spend an entire day binging Netflix or playing a PlayStation game, and it's technically work, it's research, so become an author, guys. But the main kind of inspiration for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was back in, when did I write this book? 2015, 16, 17? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, whenever it was, ages ago, there was that kind of boom of suddenly everyone was listening to true crime podcasts, especially Serial. Don't know if you've heard of Serial. Not breakfast cereal, the Serial, the podcast. And I listened to it slightly late on the bandwagon, but I just loved the idea that an amateur detective could use like tools that we all have available to us on like our smartphones, and they could use them to, you know, dig up an old case and look into crime. They didn't need to be a police officer. So that was kind of where the idea came from. And I think at the time, my sister was doing her EPQ at school. So I was like, school project, murder, put it together, wrap it up into this book. And so yes, and if you've enjoyed A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, then you can continue Pip's journey in Good Girl, Bad Blood, and the third one coming soon, again, can't remember when.
Hello, my name is Sue Wallman and I wrote Dead Popular, the book with the bright pink cover, also seen here on my little necklace. So I wasn't always an author. I started off my working life as a magazine journalist, and I think that helped me with things like dialogue and also writing quite clearly and concisely, at least I tried to do that. And now I'm a school librarian, so I juggle the two alongside. So I write during the evenings and holidays, and during the day I'm at school speaking to students about the books that they like, and that helps me a lot with my writing. Now, why did I write Dead Popular? I've been thinking about this because I'm pretty sure it started with the setting, although my main character, Kate Jordan Ferreira, came in quite quickly. But I wanted to write about a boarding school. I've never been to boarding school. I went to a very ordinary school, but I was fascinated by them. And I also grew up by the sea, so I knew I wanted to get that element in too. So I introduced Kate, as I said, and she has these rivals, and I knew there would be lots of twists and turns. And I look back and I think, well, what really was I writing about? And I think I'm writing about beautiful people who behave often in very ugly ways, and also about popularity and how far people will go to fit in.